It's pouring rain, and our boy Nick is having the worst day ever. He's flashing back to when his uncle Argus, who was also his mentor, straight up kicked him out of their party for becoming a bossy weakling. Talk about harsh. While Nick's sitting there feeling sorry for himself, this cute young idol walks up and tries to cheer him up. After a few failed attempts, she's like, "Hey, why don't you come watch me perform at Agate tomorrow?" before running off. At first, Nick's not feeling it, but after checking out the idol hall, something clicks, and he gets his confidence back, becomes totally obsessed with idol culture, and decides to join a new adventurer party so he can make friends and fund his new otaku lifestyle. So Nick heads to this guild for amateur adventurers, but his trust issues are making it super hard to connect with anyone. Hours go by and nothing happens. Feeling like a total failure, he hits the bar at night to drown his sorrows. A few beers in, the hostess brings 3 strangers to sit at his table. Even through his beer goggles, Nick can tell these people have stories. One looks rich, one's clearly a disgraced cleric, and the third is this beast human girl giving off major wounded animal vibes. Nick makes this sad toast about his broken life, and these gloomy clowns sitting with him, then downs his beer. The crazy part? All 4 of them shout at the exact same time that they'll never trust humans again. What are the odds? Turns out Tiana, the rich girl, is this super smart mage whose fiancé Alex cheated on her with someone from a lower class and then had the nerve to say Tiana's brilliance made him feel worthless. She got accused of bullying the other girl, kicked out of school, and disowned by her parents. After trying her luck at monster race gambling, she lost everything and ended up homeless until she saw an ad for the Adventurer Guild. After Tiana's story, drunk Nick asks the cleric what his deal is. This guy Zem sighs and explains he's from a city known for medicine and this huge temple. He lost faith in humanity when this little girl named Muriel, who was his student, totally framed him for inappropriate behavior after he rejected her crush on him. He got thrown in jail for 3 months, lost his priesthood, and was exiled. His first stop after prison was this small diner where the hostess, used his healing powers, if you know what I mean. The next morning, she suggested he head to Labyrinth City to become an adventurer and start fresh. After hearing all this, the group decides they shouldn't believe random drunk stories. Zem mentions he's on his way to defeat the Demon King, and Nick realizes the red-haired beast human hasn't shared her story yet. When called out, she gets all nervous before quietly saying someone important to her stole something precious. Minutes later, she's so drunk, she's causing a scene. Nick wakes up the next morning, confused about why he's in a room with these 3 strangers. When he tries to kick them out, Tiana's like, "This is my room," and boots them all instead. After flashing back to meeting that idol girl, Nick has an idea. He calls over the cleric and beast human and suggests they form a trust-free party, since they all have trust issues. This way, they can each achieve their goals without having to actually trust each other. After Nick's little pep talk, our squad of 4 marches into some random adventurer guild to officially form their party. The manager's like, "So what are you guys calling yourselves?" And Nick suggests survivors, because no matter what crazy stuff happens, they'll always find their way back. After thinking it over, everyone's down with it, so boom, they're officially registered as the survivors. That night, they come up with 3 team rules. 1, don't mess with other people's hobbies. 2, be smart with money. And 3, come back alive no matter what happens. Nick suggests they all get involved in protecting their loot. He'll handle the bookkeeping, Tiana will audit and carry the cash, Curran, the beast human, will guard the safe, and Zem gets to keep the key. When Zem accuses Nick of just bossing everyone around for his own benefit, Tiana points out that Nick actually has the hardest time accessing the safe among all of them. Zem's still suspicious, and Curran cheerfully announces she'll totally steal the safe to buy delicious food. Nick's like, "Look, we gotta believe in each other while still keeping our own doubts." He asks Curran to trust him, but she straight up admits she can't put her faith in anyone. Tiana and Zem chime in saying they feel the same way as Curran, but they're willing to work something out. The next day, the gang takes on their first mission as a team. Nick leads them into a labyrinth, and right away Curran senses something's off, while everyone else is just chatting away. They come across this weak slime munching on grass. Nick pulls out its core and keeps leading the group deeper. After taking out cores from a bunch of weak slimes, Tiana starts losing focus and babbling about random stuff. She gets smacked in the face by a slime and trips over another one. Once she's back on her feet, she agrees to pay attention. Super annoyed, she creates these sharp ice shards and accidentally launches them at Curran, who luckily turns around in time and blocks the attack with her giant sword. Tiana tries to check if Curran's okay, but Curran flips out, saying she was really trying to trust them, but they keep proving why she shouldn't. Despite this beef between them, the 2 girls work with the rest of the team to destroy all the lurking slimes until they reach the top floor where the king slime is just chillin' like a big purple blob. While Nick's explaining what he knows about the king slime, Tiana rushes forward to attack it. After stabbing the huge slime with an icicle, the thing explodes and covers everyone in gross slime gunk. Later, by the river, Karan tells Tiana she can never trust her, and Zem asks Nick why the king slime exploded. Nick explains that huge slimes react to powerful magic by splashing slime everywhere. Tiana blames Nick for not warning her, but Nick points out that if she had told him what kind of magic she used, he could have advised her. Nick tells Zem he's better suited for the back lines, not the front. Then he pulls out his weapons and explains his own strengths and weaknesses, before telling everyone else they should consider sharing theirs too if they're serious about being a team. Zem admits his fighting abilities, and Nick's words really hit Tiana hard. She bows to Curran and apologizes for attacking her. Then she tells everyone about her own strengths and weaknesses. After mentioning that Curran's strength is fire-based, she sits back down. Curran sneezes fire towards shivering Tiana, and Tiana actually thanks her for warming her up. Curran pretends it was an accident, but the two girls start forming this weird, unspoken bond. Before you know it, the survivors are on their second mission, working together to take down a clan of humanoid monsters. Zem realizes Nick is actually super powerful. While Nick collects proof of their completed mission, Tiana scans the woods with her detect magic spell looking for more monsters. Zem mentions that Tiana's detection magic is stronger than the usual stuff. The team points out that Nick is way more powerful than he lets on. Suddenly, Tiana alerts everyone to something she detected in the woods with magic 5 times stronger than a regular goblin. Nick figures it's probably an ogre, adding that they don't have enough team experience to face one. When Zem asks if they should retreat, Nick explains that if they leave the ogre alone, it and its clan will absorb all the magic around and eventually start attacking small towns. Plus, he adds, defeating an ogre means serious cash. After some confusion among the team, Tiana explains that ogres are super resistant to magic, so she can only distract it while the others take it down. Nick quickly comes up with a plan, and the four head toward the ogre. Curran leads the attack while Zem covers her and Nick with magic, and Tiana distracts the ogre with icicles. After watching the first wave of goblins fall, Curran makes the tough choice to trust that Tiana won't accidentally hit her with ice shards. With determination in her eyes, Curran engulfs her sword in flames and slices clean through the ogre in one strike, while Tiana and Zem watch Nick and Curran remove the horns from the goblins. Nick stumbles and accidentally shatters Curran's swan pendant with a loose horn. Our story continues with poor Curran waking up in a cave with a bug crawling on her face. Gross. She pulls out her necklace and realizes everything that happened was totally real. While she's walking around the market, she's thinking about how Dragonians like her are super proud and destined to serve the human who'll become the hero and save the world. She stops at this jewelry stand and picks up this swan necklace. The merchant tries to scam her by saying she cracked it and needs to pay half price, but then her friend Kalios, who's like this super handsome knight, steps in to help. He pays the merchant, has Curran do a scratch test that proves the necklace is fine, and totally calls out the merchant for trying to rip her off. He even finds the real uncracked necklace in the merchant's pouch, gets his money back, and gives Curran the real necklace. What a boss move. So Curran thinks Kalios is the hero she's destined to serve, and she joins his party. They crush a bunch of missions together with Curran always leading the charge. But then on their last mission against this massive cobra, Kalios completely betrays her. He tricks her into making the snake release this poisonous gas that weakens both of them. Then he and his crew just mock her while she's suffering. Can you believe this jerk? He leaves her there to die, making fun of her race, and steals her most precious possession, the Dragon King's jewel her teacher gave her. She's totally heartbroken but can't bring herself to smash the necklace Kalios gave her. Later, while she's searching for Kalios to get revenge, she spots this dude named Fifths who leads this popular party called the Solo Eaters. She starts following him around town, not very sneakily, and ends up discovering amazing food along the way. Fifths eventually notices her but doesn't really care. One day, Curran saves Fifth's sword from hitting the ground after some drunk guy bumps into it. Fifths thanks her, recommends a good meal, and leaves. Curran realizes Fifths taught her how to enjoy good food and filled the emptiness Kalios left with a love for awesome meals. But then she goes broke from all that eating, which is how she ended up in that bar with those 3 other losers. Back in the present, Nick is searching the market trying to find a replacement for Curran's broken swan necklace. He runs into this young idol, who basically tells him to stop wasting time and just ask Curran where she got it in the first place. Nick meets up with Curran at a food stall, and she cracks up watching his reaction to this weird treat she gives him. While they're chatting about birds and swans on a bridge, Curran sees right through his plan and tells him not to worry about the pendant. She actually feels better without it. After a quiet moment, Curran gives Nick another treat and laughs her head off watching him gasping for air because it's so intense. That evening, the whole party hits up the pub where they first met, and everyone's congratulating them for surviving. There's tons of flirting going on from other adventurers. While they're enjoying their beers, Nick completely freaks out when Curran just swallows her pendant and tosses it away like it's nothing. Just then, this shy guild receptionist comes over and invites them to a meeting. Nick and the whole party flip out when they're given a new mission to search the labyrinth of bonds and bring back the Sword of Bonds to the guild manager. Nick and his cash-hungry squad just couldn't resist taking on this mission after hearing about the sweet rewards they'd get whether they find this Sword of Bonds or not. Smart guy Nick demands a map with all the monsters marked on it and asks the guild manager to show where other adventurers have already searched. He's not messing around. He makes sure they get all the details and even gets the manager to sign a contract. After they take down the monster at the entrance, everyone starts laughing about how they're actually starting to trust each other. Nick joins in the laughter but has a quick flashback to Curran's broken necklace. So they're walking down this hallway when Zem mentions something about motion activation. Tiana points out that all the monsters they've fought so far are artificial. While they're just strolling deeper into the dungeon not paying attention, there's this hidden camera zooming in on them, super creepy, and Nick spots this green lamp that sticks out from all the red ones they've seen before, and checks it out. The second he gets close enough, bam, a hidden electronic door slides open, and that sneaky camera zooms in on them again. Nick leads the squad into this new room, and Tiana scans for monsters. She's like, someone might be blocking my detection magic, and Nick's all, we'll deal with them eventually. Suddenly the whole room lights up, and this voice starts talking to them out of nowhere. It welcomes them as survivors and goes on about how worthy they are. But the team couldn't care less about the voice. They're all focused on this shiny sword handle in a protected case. They're wondering if this broken handle is actually the sword of bonds they're looking for, and what kind of power it might have. Meanwhile, this voice is getting all upset about being ignored. Plot twist. The voice announces that it is the legendary sword of bonds. The team starts complaining about how it's just a broken handle, and even Chilzem loses it when the talking sword snaps at him. The sword goes on about how it's this super proud blade that only helps people who value justice and friendship, but then it totally freaks out when it realizes they just want to sell it for cash. It accuses the guild of tricking it, saying they locked it in this labyrinth, promising some worthy adventurers would find it someday. After waiting a whole year, it figured out the guild lied just to keep anyone from owning it. The sword tries to bargain, promising them crazy power if they keep it instead of selling it, but Tiana's like, who needs power when you're rich? Then this sneaky sword handle drops the bomb. Its guardian system is activated, and they can't leave without defeating something called the Amalga Golem. Right on cue, there's an explosion in the corner, and this slimy-looking golem appears. It smashes the floor, sending everyone scrambling backward. Tiana launches some ice attacks, and Curran charges in for what she thinks is the finishing blow. Nick realizes something's wrong and tries to warn her, but too late. The golem redirects Tiana's ice right at Curran, who does a terrible job defending herself. While Zem's healing Curran, Nick charges the golem, trying to weaken it from below. As he's dodging attacks, he yells at his teammates to get out of there. The talking blade tells Nick he can't cut through the golem without using it as his sword handle, and promises to do whatever Nick wants after they beat this thing. While everyone else is trying to escape the locked room, the sword tells Nick to picture Curran in his mind and shout Union to activate its powers. Nick feels super dumb when nothing happens after he yells Union at the top of his lungs. He still manages to cut off part of the golem, but that piece starts crawling up his leg, distracting him long enough for the golem to smack him across the room and into a hole. The golem reattaches its missing piece and turns to face the other three. Tiana freezes the golem and tells Curran to find Nick. As soon as Curran leaves, the golem breaks free from the ice and goes after Tiana and Zem. Zem gives Tiana a power boost, and she tries freezing the monster again. Meanwhile, Curran's clearing a path to reach Nick, who's telling her to just grab the others and leave him behind. But Curran's not having it. She insists on saving him. Nick apologizes for breaking her pendant, but Curran explains it was from her old party leader who betrayed her, and breaking it was actually a good thing. She reaches out her hand to Nick, and when he takes it, the sword handle starts glowing. Back with Tiana and Zem, they're about to be finished off by the golem. Just as it's about to deliver the final blow, it explodes. Out of the light emerges this armored figure that looks like a mix of Nick and Curran. The golem pulls itself back together but gets destroyed again by the sword of bonds, revealing its core, which shatters seconds later. After Nick and Curran split back into their normal selves, the crew reports to the guild manager with the sword. While they're hyping up the sword's abilities, this small human appears and starts talking trash about their claims. The manager asks if this person is a new member of their party. The human says yes, and introduces itself as Kizuna, which means bonds. The manager just rolls with it and pays them their rewards. On their way back, Kizuna mocks the guild manager for falling for a fake weapon, while Curran's totally confused about how a sword turned into a human. After splitting up their rewards, everyone takes some money to spend on their secret hobbies. Tiana invites Kizuna to the racing ring as long as it keeps quiet about her spending habits. As they head to the races, Tiana and Kizuna start developing this fun little friendship. As time goes on, our squad's getting used to their newest member, Kizuna. One afternoon, Tiana's just chilling, playing with this thing one of her underlings gave her, when Kizuna struts in showing off his fresh armor, basically begging for compliments. Nick shuts that down real quick and drops the bomb about how broke their party actually is. When they realize they're practically one step away from being homeless, all 5 of them suddenly get super motivated to take on missions and stack that cash. In a flashback, Tiana remembers when one of her professors handed her this igniter as a goodbye gift. This weird professor makes some messed up joke about humanity needing to be wiped out and how the worst is still coming. Tiana calls him out on his inappropriate jokes, and the dude just loses it, laughing like a maniac. Tiana politely excuses herself, but before she can bounce, the crazy guy stops laughing for a second to drop some advice, then immediately goes back to his psycho, laughing as she respectfully walks away. Later, Nick wakes up from a nightmare about his ex and wonders if everyone else is also having these weird dreams about their past. Next scene, Kizuna completely ruins the team's plan by charging straight at the enemy. After this huge ogre blocks Kizuna's first attack, it launches a massive magic ball at him. Kizuna just tosses the magic ball aside, does this shadow clone jutsu thing, and one-shots the ogre. When everyone regroups, Kizuna brags about how he can make 5 copies of himself by tapping into the team's stamina and strength. Nick mishears the explanation but admits he thinks Kazuna's battle technique is pretty sick. Kazuna proudly says his sword techniques were installed into him. When Curran asks what that means, Kazuna explains he copies and perfects the fighting styles of past wielders. Tiana calls him out for being a cheat, but Nick steps in before things get heated. Kazuna starts bragging about having some super move, but Nick knocks him down a peg by saying he's not planning to use their union technique anytime soon. Kazuna calls Nick a stingy fool, but Nick explains there's no point using a technique that'll knock them all out afterward, using their new telepathy skills, thanks to Kazuna. The party members tell each other their plans for the rest of the day. Kizuna decides to tag along with Nick and Curran to grab dinner. While they're walking, Nick realizes the restaurant Curran picked is the same place he used to go with his crazy ex-girlfriend. While they're munching on their food, Nick hears his ex's voice nearby. He turns around and spots her trying to scam another poor dude just like she did to him. Nick steps in and points out a hole in her sob story. The young guy looks confused, glancing between Nick and Claudine. When Nick calls out Claudine for somehow having two different birthdays, the young guy asks her who Nick is. When Claudine tries to escape with the young guy, Nick threatens her, and she storms out of the restaurant alone and mad. Later, Claudia walks in with some big dude and dumps slop on Nick's head while he's meeting with his party. Nick immediately knows who did it, and the big guy tries to intimidate Nick for embarrassing Claudine at the restaurant. He challenges Nick to a face-off and leads him to a private area. Once they're alone, the big guy surprises Nick by apologizing and thanking him for stopping Claudine's scam. The big guy tells Nick to keep Claudine for himself, then suggests Nick must be ripping off his party members like other party leaders do. Nick laughs hysterically and punches the big guy in the gut for saying that about him. The big guy tries to fight back, but Nick pins him down. While Nick's figuring out what to do about the fraud accusation, another member of the big guy's party throws Nick off. Curran appears out of nowhere and knocks the new guy off his feet. The guild manager walks in and introduces herself as Vilma. She recognizes the big guy as Leon and tells Curran to let go of his foot. Vilma says if they're gonna fight, they need to do it the right way. When Nick asks what the right way is, Leon points his fingers and challenges Nick to a mathematics bare-knuckle battle. In an enclosed room, Vilma lays down the rules for this crazy mathematics bare-knuckle battle to both teams sitting in front of her. Kazuna breaks it down. Basically, unless someone can solve the math problems, the fighters just keep going at it forever. Vilma adds there are 6 rounds total before announcing it's time to randomly pick representatives. Curran totally freaks out when she realizes she's been picked to face off against Claudine in this arithmetic showdown. Zem tests Curran with some basic math problems and feels bad about how badly she bombs. He reassures her that they can all work together to fix her math skills. For the whole week, the Survivor crew spends their time training and trying to boost Curran's academic game. When Zen steps out of a meeting, Curran realizes Zem's been hanging out in brothels a lot lately. At the brothel, Zem gathers all the dirt he can about Leon and his crew from the working ladies, then reports everything back to Nick and the others. The next morning, Claudine wakes up from a nightmare and heads out to take Nick down. The arithmetic battles officially kick off, and Curran is psyched to get math problems she actually understands. Claudine mocks her for celebrating over questions a toddler could solve, but Curran ignores the hate. She pushes herself to finish correctly so she can join Nick in his fight against Leon. In the makeshift ring, Nick notices Leon's avoiding all his tricks. Curran announces she's finished, and the judges tell the fighters to take a break while they check the math scores. After a quick review, the judges reveal the scores. Curran got an 86 while Claudine scored 98 inches the first round. While Claudine trash talks, Curran apologizes to Nick for letting him down. Leon gets a free shot at Nick as a reward for winning, and doesn't waste time landing a brutal punch between Nick's ribs. The announcer calls the start of round 2, and Nick takes hit after hit, while Claudia happily works through her problems. Results come in for round 2, with Claudine beating Curran by 11 solid points. Curran looks away guilty as Leon punches Nick right in the face as his reward. Nick gets Curran's attention and tells her to drop the guilty look and focus on solving the math problems. Curran blames herself for being stupid, but Nick immediately shuts that down, reminding her how much she's improved over the past few weeks. Nick's encouragement hits deep, and Curran decides to tackle the remaining questions without hesitation. Vilma hands out question sheets for the next round, and Claudine gets furious that Curran's ignoring all her intimidation attempts. While Nick faces Leon, Tiana scans the crowd for suspicious people. She realizes there's nobody with magic around, and wonders if they were wrong about Leon's team cheating. In the crowd, Zem points out the math is about to get beyond Curran's level, and predicts she'll struggle with the next rounds. Tiana decides to mix things up, and suggests they take all remaining rounds at once. When the crowd backs her idea, Vilma agrees as long as Nick and his opponent are ready to take all penalties at once. Claudine looks around and notices the crowd cheering for Curran's speed. She thinks Curran's just pretending to work fast to psych her out. Using telepathy, Claudine contacts the third member of her team and asks for help. While the geeky guy with glasses punches numbers into his calculator, Tiana spots him and leaves with Zem and Kazuna. Nick chuckles and points out that Leon's last team member seems to be missing. Leon nervously makes up an excuse and wonders if Nick's team discovered their trick after noticing Tiana's gone. Leon tries to stop Claudine from contacting their teammate, but Claudine tells him to shut up. Kizuna and the others catch the glasses guy guy, and Claudine loses it when the answers stop coming. Tiana's group returns with Mr. Glasses and a pile of evidence proving they've been cheating the whole time. Vilma orders guards to arrest Leon and his crew. As the guards lead away the chained cheaters, Claudine cries out that she wasn't always a bad person, and Curran continues that nobody starts off bad. It's our past choices that shape who we become. Tiana adds that if Claudine has truly realized her mistakes, she should try to fix them. After this stressful challenge, the team of 5 hits up a restaurant to celebrate their win. While Leon's strapped to a chair in this creepy dungeon, he starts having this major flashback about why he totally hates humanity. Back when he was just a kid, he was adventuring with his big bro who he basically served. This brother of his raided tons of treasure, got super rich and famous living the dream, right? But then his brother died this awful death with zero dignity. Leon snaps back to reality and he's like, yep, that's exactly why I don't trust people. Then this guard comes up with this evil look in his eyes, points a sword right at Leon's chest, and demands to know where all the stolen treasure is. Leon's thinking to himself that the guard must be talking about this insane treasure from his brother's biggest heist ever, something so dangerous they couldn't sell it or even use it. With this intense look, Leon summons the sword of destruction, and the guard nearly jumps out of his skin when this weapon just appears from the ceiling. Meanwhile, Tiana's upgraded from racing to a fancy gambling table, placing her bets. Nick's ugly mug shows up, scanning the room, so apparently their party of 5 decided to split up after scoring some gold. Tiana invited Kizuna to hit the casino, and Nick tagged along to keep Kizuna from running their mouth. While this huge beast dude is heading to the casino looking for Nick with revenge on his mind, Tiana lights up her pipe and watches her opponents. After totally cleaning them out, she mocks them until one gets super annoyed and leaves. Someone watching asks if she was trying to stop the guy from losing more money, but Tiana gets all deep, saying it's just as easy to toss people aside as it is to be tossed aside yourself. The onlookers all impressed while Tiana keeps philosophizing about gambling life. They're chatting when crash, something interrupts them, and everyone freaks out when someone yells monster. Guards try to stop whatever it is, but they're not having much luck. Turns out the monster is actually Leon in beast form. He's looking around for Nick, throwing guards left and right. He's thinking about how he summoned that sword of destruction in the dungeon and just wrecked everything. While Tiana's trying to figure out how to protect everyone without her weapon, Leon comes up to her, recognizing her scent. He demands to know where Nick is, and Tiana freaks when she realizes this ugly monster is actually Leon, the same guy they outsmarted in that mathematics bare-knuckle battle. When she tries playing dumb, Leon's like, I can smell lies, and if you mess with me, you'll be carpet stain. Across the room, Nick notices people freaking out but doesn't know why yet. Tiana's stuck between risking her life for Nick or just saving herself. But then she laughs and asks Leon why he thinks threatening her would even matter to Nick. Leon says threatening a comrade would definitely make Nick react. Tiana just laughs in his face and drops this truth bomb that they're just adventurers who don't believe in humanity or each other. They're not actually comrades. While Leon's processing this shocker, Tiana pulls out her pipe and igniter. Then bam! She stabs his paws with the glowing igniter. Leon screams black smoke everywhere and he drops. Tiana tries escaping with this lady, but Leon blocks them, so Tiana tells some hiding dude to take her new casino friend and run. Getting back on her feet, Tiana explains that her party is just a bunch of broken people supporting each other. Leon's surprised she's being so real, but he realizes what he smelled was hope mixed with giving up. Tiana declares Nick would never risk himself for her, so Leon pulls out the sword of destruction to finish her. But plot twist, Nick appears out of nowhere and blocks the attack with his sword of bonds. Tiana warns Nick about Leon, and Nick starts trash talking. Then the swords literally start talking to each other, with the sword of destruction vowing to beat the sword of bonds. The sword of destruction powers up, and Leon absorbs its energy, forcing Nick to team up with Tiana. They drop the temperature and try trapping Leon with ice, but he just walks through it. As Leon's walking away, he realizes he never wanted this fight and has nothing to gain. Looking around at the damage, he feels bad about what he's done, but the sword keeps telling him about the power of making people fear him. Leon admits to himself he doesn't want to be someone who ruins people's joy, then lets out this massive roar. Team Nick traps him in an ice cage and stabs him with icicles, but Leon challenges the sword's worldview, saying all he wanted was to be an adventurer like his brother. The sword reminds him his brother died terribly, and Leon agrees his brother was killed by his comrades, but insists the sword is wrong about him. He's not the villain. He breaks free from the ice cage and drops the sword of destruction. Team Nick freezes the sword and slaps some anti-magic cards on Leon until the cops arrive. Leon thanks Nick for stopping him and surrenders to the authorities. Later, Nick visits Leon in his cell to tell him nobody died at the casino and that he sealed away the evil sword. As Nick leaves, Leon laughs to himself because Nick doesn't realize how much his party members actually trust each other. So Nick's running through this quiet park totally clueless, and this idle girl is straight up sneaking behind him. She's messing with his head, making him think it's his own conscience, telling him to buy some expensive idol merch. After a few blocks, she convinces convinces him to take a break, and Nick totally freaks when he realizes she's been following him the whole time. While they're chilling on a bench, the idol admits she felt weird after giving Nick his first concert ticket. She explains that even though idols try to make fans feel special, some people go way overboard and ruin their lives obsessing over idols. She smiles, saying she's glad her impact on Nick was positive instead of turning him into some creepy superfan. Nick gets serious for a sec and says if she hadn't introduced him to idol culture and helped him get his life together, he might have ended up as a criminal. While looking at her, Nick can tell something's been bothering her for a while. So the idol, Belle Haggins, decides to spill her story. A few years back, she was just a part-time musician singing at her boyfriend's bar with literally zero audience. But she kept at it until this producer named Joseph Coleman spotted her and offered her an idol gig. Her boyfriend immediately jumped at the chance to cash in on Belle without even asking what she wanted. After performing at her first concert, Belle got hooked on the fame, the love from fans, and having a following. She and two other girls from the concert crowd became rivals in the idol world. As time passed, things with her boyfriend got nasty. He started extorting her for cash. Belle realized her former dream partner had turned into this money-hungry monster who was gambling and living large on her dime. He completely stopped working and just mooched off Belle's income, but she was too blind to see it and let his behavior slide. One night, Belle goes out for a drink and overhears Claudine dumping Nick. She follows the heartbroken dude into the rain to cheer him up. Later, her boyfriend convinces her to hit up a casino where she runs into Tiana, who had cleaned out her boyfriend's money just to get a reaction from Belle. When Leon shows up in monster form, she watches in awe as Team Nick takes him down. After the casino drama, Joseph Coleman pays off Belle's boyfriend's debt and bans him from seeing her again. Belle finally grows a spine and officially breaks up with her boyfriend, who acts like he couldn't care less. He calls Belle a failed gambling material and drops some meaningless advice before leaving. Belle lost track of him until randomly seeing him sweeping streets like a total loser one afternoon. In the next week, Belle throws a comeback concert and dedicates her first song to Tiana, the hero she met at the casino. The crowd goes wild when Belle starts singing, and Nick watches in total shock as he finally puts it all together. After the show, Belle tries to trick Nick at the park again, but this time he sees right through it. He asks why she seemed troubled during her last visit, and Belle admits she had worries like everyone else, but has moved past them. She adds that solving one problem just creates more advanced ones. Nick agrees with her theory, saying once you get a taste of worries, they never stop coming. Belle calls over a stray dog and picks it up, saying she'll keep pushing forward no matter what. Nick agrees again, adding that resolving your problems means you're moving forward in life. After Belle sends the dog on its way, Nick looks up at the sky and tells Belle they have to keep moving forward. Belle looks up too and agrees with Nick, her once lost friend. While the party of survivors is chilling in their crib, Kizuna disturbs each of them with his comic book dream character. Nick cautions them and Kizuna flips in annoyance. He shoves his magazine into Nick's face and throws a fit. A random geek hears Kizuna's cries for justice and piques interest. While peeping through the glass like a creep, the geek identifies herself as Olivia Taylor, an adventurer and writer for the magazine Kizuna, was flashing in Nick's face. When the group refuses to believe someone as geeked up as Olivia is an adventurer, Olivia decides to show them some of her moves. While parading around with different stances, she slips and leans on Curran. After her little display, Olivia informs the group that whenever there is something weird going on in the city, she is always there to check it out. At night, while Zem strolls around the street drunkenly, he falls into shock after watching a mysterious entity grab a little girl. In the next scene, at the entrance of the idol hall, Kizuna senses Zem is in danger and leads Nick to his location. When Nick arrives at the scene, he is bewildered to see that the villain in Kizuna's magazine, aka the Stepping Man, has attacked Zem. Kizuna steps forward and deals with the invisible Stepping Man. When the culprit realizes that Kizuna can see him, he flees the scene. Zem returns to the brothel alongside Nick and Kizuna to heal himself and the little girl. In the brothel, Nick interrogates the girl about her attacker, but one of the working ladies intervenes. Nick apologizes, and the little girl suddenly starts insisting that her attacker is the Stepping Man. When Nick asks her to explain, the young girl tells him that her mother would always go out late at night to defeat the Stepping Man, but she lost and is now bedridden in the hospital. She continues that the Stepping Man has been responsible for the recent disappearance of children, but when her mother tried to expose him, nobody believed her. Zem adds that even if people don't believe in the Stepping Man's existence, he has seen it attack an innocent child and jump from roof to roof seamlessly. After learning that the little girl's name is Reina, Zem assures her that he believes that the Stepping Man exists, and he commends her mother's bravery. Reina suddenly asks Zem if can regard her as his student, but Zem refuses to take her in because of her young age. Kizuna scoffs over the fact that the Stepping Man he once glorified in the books is a cheap skate-sorry excuse of a villain who only kidnaps children. Kizuna stands on his feet and declares that he will destroy the wannabe Stepping Man. The following day, Nick decides to convert their chase for the Stepping Man into a worthwhile mission. mission. He visits a guild meant for bounty hunters and demands to know if they have any rewarding jobs for finding the stepping man. The guild receptionist denies them access to the stepping man's case, mocks Nick for being kicked out of his old party, and gives them another bounty job to do. When the crowd of bounty hunters overhears that Nick and his friends are the famous parties of survivors, one among them throws a fit. After a bit of back and forth between the huge bounty hunter and Tiana places a huge bet on her party's success, and the majority of the guild bets against the party of survivors' success in their given bounty mission. The party survivors trace their catch to Garbage Town, the home of the low-life criminals and one of the most dangerous parts of the city, particularly feared by guards. Nick walks up to the deranged-looking gatekeeper to gather some information, but after the gatekeeper tells them a bunch of unhelpful gibberish, he warns them to stay clear of an individual called Nalgava. When Nick asks the gatekeeper who Nalgava is, the gatekeeper tells him that Nalgava is a person of importance in their hood. While Nick and his party members walk through the smelly criminal den in search of Hale, their culprit, a group of ruffians walk up to them to mug them. In a split second, Nick and the others disarm the ruffians and question them about Hale. The leader of the gang directs Nick and the others to an inn on the east side. When the rogue leader tries to extort Nick for his information, Tiana reminds him that he is about to rob them. Zem walls behind the group and suddenly interrogates the rogue leader. After Zem applies pressure on the poor man, he confesses that his life did not turn out to be what he wanted, and that he never wanted to be a low-life criminal. After a wave of silence and Curran's intervention, Zem gives the man a mild calming medicine as payment for his information. Just before the group walks out of the scene, the rogue man warns them that Hale is a fast runner who can easily slip away in the blink of an eye. At the back of the inn, Kizuna senses the presence of Hale and Nick plans an ambush. Nick and the others catch Hale easily, tie him up, and escort him out of his pleasure room. In front of the room, they come across Nalgava, Hale's supposed priest/doctor, who questions their action against his patient. After Nick explains that Hale is a bloody criminal who has committed every crime possible except murder, Nalgava gives in before adding that Hale has an illness, and he would like to cure him before Nick and the others take him. Zem steps in and retorts that Nalgava's treatment may go to waste if Hale is sentenced to death. Zem also mentions the possibility of Hale clearing his name before asking Nalgava how he became an ex-priest living in Garbage Town despite his obvious talent. Nalgava straight up asks Zem if he wishes to go back to priesthood, and the people in the room are shocked to hear that he would. Kizuna runs his filthy mouth as usual and asks Nalgava if he knows anything about the stepping man. When Nalgava admits that he doesn't, Hale begins laughing hysterically before pointing out that Garbage Town is full of stinking kidnappers. When Nalgava calls Hale to order, Hale informs them that he often sees a weird reporter going around and giving kids candy to talk to them. In no time, Nick and his party members make their way to the guild for bounty hunters to submit Hale. Tiana walks up to the big guy who led the bet against her and grabs her pay. She submits the pay to the receptionist and requests to buy as many bottles of beer as possible for the bounty hunters in the guild. The following morning, Nick and the others visit the guild to collect their reward and some information about the stepping man. After reading a bunch of unhelpful notes about the stepping man from random people, Nick asks the receptionist for the kidnapper people referred to as the stepping man, but the receptionist refers them to a weird reporter who gives candy to random kids. Nick laughs when he realizes that the weird reporter is the weird lady who displayed idiocy to them a few days ago. When Kizuna mentions that the stepping man he fought had used chains for weapons, Curran points out that when the geeky lady bumped into her, she was heavier than she should be, almost as if she had chains wrapped around her body. Nick instantly instructs Curran and Tiana to block the exits of the building while he approaches the reporter slowly. Nick arrives in front of the reporter's table and cuts to Chase. He asks her what she does to the children after giving them candy, but the reporter plays dumb, and Nick asks her where she was 2 nights ago. After the strange girl gives a bunch of messed up explanations, Nick asks her if she is the stepping man and where she keeps the children she kidnaps. The weird reporter foolishly denies Nick's questions and surprises everyone by kicking the table before her in two and leaping out of the room through the roof. Zem wakes up from a nightmare about his time in prison. He collects his sorry self from the bed and mutters to himself. After Olivia escapes through the roof, Kizuna, Zem, and Nick hang at the brothel talking about how similar Olivia moves to that stepping man dude they spotted 2 nights ago. Then out of nowhere, Reina's mom shows up and Nick is like, "No way! You're Ada the sommelier!" Turns out she's this famous swashbuckler from that legendary A-rank party grand chef. When Ada starts talking about her adventures with Fifths and the gang, Curran totally fanboys out. Ada tries to keep her daughter from getting mixed up in this stepping man business, but Reina turns to Zem, who she calls Master, for backup. Zem shuts that down real quick and drops a bombshell about how a girl Reina's age totally framed him and wrecked his life. Reina asks if that's why he told her to come back in 15 years to be his student, and Ada flips out thinking Zem's trying to marry her daughter. Reina sets her mom straight, and everyone cracks up at Zem getting rejected by a little kid. A bit later, Ada thanks the crew for saving her daughter but warns them to stay away from the stepping man case. Nick's all, "You're not the boss of me," and says he's taking this personally now because the stepping man's methods tick him off. Ada admits she made up the stepping man name just to get guilds and adventurers interested. She's backing out because she's worried about her daughter, but Nick's like, "At least tell us us how to beat this guy first. So Ada takes them to the bar and hooks them up with some fancy mushroom juice. Then she explains what they need to take down the stepping man and gives them some special igniter to test if they've got what it takes. Their first training day is a total bust, but later Kizuna catches the stepping man grabbing a girl off the street and leads the creep toward Nick and Zem. But when Nick asks the stepping man to show themselves, they just bolt. Next day, Nick visits Leon in his cell to ask about magic items that can hide someone. After thinking hard, Leon mentions the Illusion King's jewel that can disguise people, and says the easiest way to shut it down is to confidently say the user's name. The next day, Nick finally masters his training and has this flashback to when he was a kid in training. Zem comes through with a bunch of new intel on the stepping man, and Nick leads everyone back to Garbage Town. The gatekeeper tells them he found a dead kid a few days back, and Nick feels sick hearing that. While they're walking through this misty area, Kizuna uses telepathy to warn everyone they're being followed. Suddenly, Olivia jumps out of nowhere and attacks Nick. After Nick busts out some stepping man moves, she accuses him of being the kidnapper. Then Nick remembers what Leon said about calling out the culprit's name, so he gives it a shot. Everyone's shocked when Olivia responds in her usual crazy way. Later, Olivia explains she is a stepping man, but not the stepping man kidnapping kids. Turns out, stepping man is just slang for weirdos who jump across rooftops at night. She agrees to help them catch the real kidnapper. Olivia goes with them to check out the dead kid's body and points out how weirdly clean and bruise-free it is. When Zem turns the body over, a glowing red stone falls out from its back. Olivia examines it, then crushes it. Suddenly burns and birthmarks appear on the body. Zem checks the eyes and sees signs of treated yellow demon sickness. Olivia gets real serious, saying this wasn't just some random kid, this was someone loved by their family. Back at the brothel, Tiana tells them the dead girl was the daughter of a local armor shop owner and had been missing for over a month. They figure the stepping man must be coming in and out of Garbage Town, so they decide to return the body to the parents and get revenge for what happened to her. Nick is chasing after this mysterious stepping man on a full moon night. Nick's all cocky, taunting the guy about being too busy to enjoy the moon, but stepping man fires back with a distorted voice, telling Nick his light body technique is still weak, though he does give props to Nick's fighting skills. They both get into their battle stances, and Nick demands to know why this creep's been kidnapping innocent kids. The stepping man attacks Nick with this huge chain and complains about Nick being too nosy. Nick dodges like a pro and says he's figured out almost everything except why the kidnappings. They start throwing hands, and while blocking Nick's punches, stepping man claims Nick's missing one crucial piece of info. Nick's not falling for it though, and drops a bombshell. He knows the culprit writing those academic papers from the dump, aka the garbage collection, is actually Nalgava, just like Leon predicted. The moment Nick says the name, the invisible cloak fails and reveals Nalgava's angry face. Nalgava gives Nick props for being smart, and Nick explains his suspicions started when they found a body with yellow demon sickness. He figured out Nalgava was using Garbage Town and his victims to find a cure for the disease. When Nalgava says he has nothing left to lose, Nick charges at him, but can't land a hit. Nalgava blocks everything effortlessly, saying he knows all Nick's moves. Nick jumps high and delivers this massive kick against Nalgava's guard, and they both crash through the building's roof. Nalgava looks around and realizes, oh snap, he's been lured into a trap. Zem steps forward asking why Nalgava's spreading this deadly disease. Nalgava reveals his daughter died from it. Zem's like, yeah, I know, and starts telling the story of how Nalgava's daughter got infected and died. Nalgava collapses, questioning why his daughter had such a horrible fate. He admits he was desperately searching for a cure, but when he tries justifying his actions, Zem calls him out for killing other people's children while claiming to find a cure. Zem reminds him that the pain Nalgava felt losing his daughter is exactly what he's causing other parents. While they're having this deep conversation, Kizuna warns everyone through telepathy that they're not alone. Suddenly, this bright fire shoots through the entrance and hits Nalgava in the chest. The door falls, revealing some strange being. Zem tries healing Nalgava, but the being tosses him aside, telling him to save his magic and wait his turn. The strange being announces he's here to kill everyone. Curran and Tiana try a combo attack but get totally wrecked. Zem goes back to healing Nalgava, who tells him he's holding the team back by trying to save unimportant people while his friends are getting beaten. He says Zem's kindness is just self-centeredness and will get everyone killed. Nick calls out to Zem, asking him to form a union with him, but Zem hesitates and watches Nick get attacked by the strange being. While Zem's frozen with guilt, Kizuna tells him Olivia's buying time while he figures out what to do. Olivia jumps in and lands a direct kick on the being, recognizing him as the infamous White Mask. She blocks his sword with her bare hands and surprises him with her speed, landing hits from behind. After Olivia gets in some good shots, Zem finally forms a union with Nick. When Olivia tries escaping, White Mask drags her down and traps her in this red dome, with crazy high temperature and pressure that could kill her. Team Nick tries helping, but the Sword of Bonds warns them not to rush in blindly. White Mask jumps to attack Team Nick, who realizes the sword is way heavier than it looks. They decide to use speed as their advantage, zooming around at incredible speeds while Olivia notices the dome weakening and starts breaking it. Olivia tries distracting White Mask, but he figures out Team Nick's movement pattern and attacks. Just when White Mask is declaring victory, the Sword of Bonds comes out of nowhere and stabs stabs right through him. White Mask pulls out the sword, admits defeat, and escapes with a massive blast. After making sure everyone's okay, Zem tries healing Nalgava, but Nalgava reveals he infected himself with yellow demon sickness and asks them to let him die in the collapsing building. The next morning, Zem pays his respects at the collapsed building. Kizuna mentions they've solved one case, but Olivia warns them not to let their guard down since White Mask is still out there somewhere. The group convinces Olivia to reveal her true identity, and she confesses she's actually the Sword of War. After that epic showdown between White Mask and our squad of survivors, Nick and the crew are basically chilling at home, healing up, but also low-key drowning in their own thoughts. Nick flashes back to when he was just a little kid, and his dad was taking him and his mom to visit Uncle Argus in Labyrinth City. Things got real dark real quick when their caravan got jumped by bandits. Nick's mom hit him before grabbing a knife and rushing out to help his dad fight. Sadly, those jerks killed both his parents, but then Uncle Argus showed up out of nowhere and saved Nick's life. A few days later, Argus was like, "Hey kid, wanna be an adventurer?" and started training Nick in the hardcore adventurer lifestyle. On Nick's first mission with Argus and his crew, a monster straight up snapped his sword in half. Back in the present, Nick's staring at that broken sword, thinking about the day Argus kicked him out of his party. He closes his eyes and admits he's got regrets. He wishes he could have done things differently. Suddenly, Nick hears someone singing in the rain and freaks when he realizes it's Belle, his idol. Nick runs over with the umbrella she gave him when they first met, and they realize they still don't know each other's real names. They decide to keep it that way, and Belle tells Nick to hang on to the umbrella until the rain stops. Meanwhile, Zem's checking out a patient's mouth when the dude asks if he's the one who killed Nalagava. When Zem says yeah, the patient gets super excited, saying Zem must have killed him to take his place. The guy runs out yelling about winning some bet. After helping another older patient, Zem admits he's decided to fill Nalgava's shoes in Garbage Town as a way to mourn and deal with his own feelings. Tiana wakes up, smokes her pipe, and just stares at the night sky. Next day at the racetracks, she's lost in her thoughts, realizing that living quietly is boring AF. The following day, Curran meets up with the squad looking kinda weird and asks how everyone's doing. After getting some dry answers, Kizuna notices Zem's filthy feet and asks if he's still cosplaying as Nalgava. Zem reminds Kizuna they all agreed to stay out of each other's business. Kizuna realizes everyone in the party is fighting their own mental battles and keeping their distance. That night, Kizuna visits Zem in Garbage Town and tells him that if he's gonna play doctor in such a sketchy neighborhood, he needs the Sword of Bonds to back him up. Kizuna offers to be his bodyguard, and Zem's like, "Thanks, man." Next morning, when Curran meets up with everyone, Kizuna's totally geeking out over some new comics. Curran awkwardly tries to ask how everyone's doing, but switches to talking about food instead. After getting some forced responses, she bails. While wandering around looking for food, Curran admits she can't shake the memories of Nalgava and White Mask. She's still super mad at Cleos for stealing her most precious thing when she spots a merchant trying to scam a young beast girl with a fake cracked necklace trick. Curran shuts that down real quick and watches the relieved beast girl walk away. Nick and the gang find Curran and invite her to hit up the Summer Sleep Festival with them. On their way there, Olivia charges at them like a crazy person to spill some rumors she heard and wrote about in her magazine. When Olivia mentions potential enemies, Curran suddenly asks about the Dragon King's jewel. She admits she shouldn't be obsessing over Kalios, but doesn't know what else to do. Curran says she's been having fun with the group, but feels like she's avoiding something important. The gang surprises Curran by saying they're ready to follow her, fight her battles, and even turn them into paying jobs, just like they did with the Stepping Man. Olivia drops some motivational speech, and everyone plays along. Just then, fireworks start booming, and they all turn to check out the awesome light show in the sky. After a night of pure fun, with that little beast girl following Curran to every restaurant, Kizuna and Olivia have a deep talk about how they're gonna outlive all their friends because of what they are. Olivia confesses she loves helping heroes who will eventually take down the Demon King and save the world.